Right, so we'll start with the Arsenal. Just missed out on Champions League football. Really, the masters of their own demise. I think they were in the absolute driver's seat, and then they lost 3 games in a row at the end of the season, and then ultimately bottled it away to Newcastle United. With Newcastle did nothing to play for and played them off the park. And the thought was that basically whoever gets top four out of Spurs and Arsenal, they're going to have the Champions League money to spend. Spurs have obviously just talked about clearly spent that money, but Arsenal haven't been far off either. Let's have a look at some of the signings they've brought in. Fabio Vieira from Porto, 29.9 million. Marquinhos, right winger from Sao Paulo. Matt Turner, goalkeeper from America. And Gabriel Jesus, for 45 million from Manchester City. In terms of transfers out, Alexandre Lacazette to Lyon. He probably ran his course there. Konstantinos Mavropanos to Stuttgart. Matteo Guendouzi to Marseille. Yeah. Okay, we'll start with Jesus. This is a good signing that they can make. I've myself have been on and off on Gabriel Jesus over the years. Sometimes I've watched him, particularly when he first came in at City, took over. Remember watching him at the 2018 World Cup where he started up front for Brazil. I don't think he scored a single goal at that tournament. Even at times at City, it's like he hasn't been able to take down that number 9 jersey. He's moved to the right wing. He's been inside. He's been out the side. But what I seen from him in the back end of last season, 6 or 7 weeks, as soon as he got into that team against Liverpool at the Etihad, the chip that he scored over Allison, you were like, okay, there's something here. Plays well then for the next couple of weeks. I think he scored 4 goals up front when he started for Watford. So there clearly is a player there. The problem with Jesus, as well, a lot of, as I mentioned with Sterling and a lot of players at City, is they're never going to get much time in the side. Obviously, there will be exceptions. Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz. He's going to have his players that he's going to start. But a lot of those wingers, particularly, they'll get rotated, chopped and changed in and out from week to week, game to game. Jesus been no exception. He started a lot actually towards the start of last season, but a big chunk of the centre part of the season, that October to March range, he just was barely seen. But the back end of the season, he really kind of came into form and showed there's a player there. And I know it's pre-season, but he scored 2 goals in his first game against Nuremberg there with Arsenal. So if he's replacing Lacazette and Nketiah, he gives them a dynamic, live, young striking option. So that's something to be excited about for Gunners. Fabio Vieira is an interesting one. It's 30 million pounds on a player that we're not entirely sure is going to start. Because realistically, what we seen last season with Arsenal was you've got Martin Odegaard and you've got Smith Rowe that were kind of battling for that number 10 spot for a little bit. Obviously, Smith Rowe wears a number 10 jersey, but Odegaard ultimately plays in that hole behind the striker. He locks down that spot. And what happens then is you've got a situation then where Saka's on the right, he's locked down that spot. And it's basically becomes this revolving door between Martinelli and Smith Rowe. They seem to rotate every couple of games. Martinelli gets 2 or 3 here, then Smith Rowe's brought back in, on and off then from there. So that's probably where it's going to go, which made the Vieira signing a bit peculiar. Obviously, look, there is an extent maybe you want to add good players. It's always a good thing to add. Someone that was relatively unknown before last season. I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew him, but when you look at his kind of stats, he puts up a couple of goals and had 14 assists. Something to be excited about. It's just hard to see exactly where he fits in. There's other areas of need there for Arsenal, most notably the centre of midfield. Um, Obviously, look, when Thomas Partey plays, Thomas Partey is a good player. He's a Champions League level player, very good for Atletico Madrid, and in spurts for Arsenal when he has been available. That's a quality midfielder. That's a ball winner that someone's going to break up play and someone's going to get up and down. Um, he's a good player. It's availability. Availability is the best ability with him, and he's not there much. Now he is back in training, so that's good for Arsenal fans to see at least. And that's the least I'll say about that situation. Um, but regardless, when he was out last year, they're left with El Neni and Xhaka. In spurts, both of those players you can see have moments at times, but they're very few and far between, and they're not going to get you in the Champions League when they're your 2 best players. Xhaka is a good player. Technically, has all the tools in his bag. prone to just stupidity, prone to stupid fouls, stupid mistakes, stupid challenges, cards. And we've seen it. There's been enough of a sample size there that it's not just a one-off or a bad run. This is who he is. And particularly when they're linked there with Yuri Tielemans, you're just like, go get Yuri Tielemans. Like, why would you spend 30 million on Vieira or just go spend 35 on Yuri Tielemans and get someone in there can start along party behind Odegaard, and then you've your pick of Saka, Martinelli, and Smith Rowe on the wings with Gabby Jesus up top. Um, puzzling one, puzzling one. Obviously, when we look at the defense, that's somewhere that they've completely. That's where they put a lot of the money in previously. Obviously, recent additions, well, relatively recent. You've got Tierney, Ramsdale, Gabriel, Ben White, and Tomiyasu all in the last couple of seasons. So I put centre mid there, and I probably would have gone for that instead of Vieira. I know they've been linked with the likes of Tielemans. We'll see that maybe could be a deal that gets done on the back end. They've also been linked with Rafinha. He obviously looks like he's gone to Barca. But realistically, while 14 assists from any player encourages me, um, I'd put that money in a defensive centre, box to box midfielder, and not as an attacking luxury midfielder that's probably going to play second fiddle to Martin Odegaard. So realistically, from Arsenal, while I like the Jesus signing, it's a B minus so far. They were promised and linked with so much, but they've really other than no, but Jesus is probably if he lands a striker, we'll put him up to a B. We'll put him to a B.